one of those things in the top of this list of misconceptions is animals are being killed for their leather. And when I heard in Milan, you shared this study, says half of the people believes this is the case. Uh, I was shocked. So we need to talk about this. Why people think that? Like, what are the numbers behind it? I'm walking in this leather exhibition in Milan and I meet a great friend to talk about leather again. And it turns out Florian loves talking about leather as much as I do, which is hard to come across. And we go for a dinner, we start discussing leather, and the subject keeps coming back to the misconceptions, the misinformation that we all have. And the frustration is through the roof. After hours of talking, endless, we decided this needs to be heard. So I've been doing this Leathertainment podcast with different industry experts in remote setups, but this time we wanted to take it on the go. So they invited me here in Smit Zoon headquarters in Netherlands, so we can discuss leather in depth with an industry veteran, Florian here, that has immense experience and network and passion for the material. So hopefully it's information and entertainment for leather enthusiasts like yourselves. So Florian, thank you for having me here and this great opportunity to address some of these misconceptions. So let's get started.
Yeah, I'm happy that you are here, actually. Yeah, so that was a very funny coincidence to run into you and then during dinner find out that this is really so big misbelief out there in the world when it comes to leather, and that it makes fully sense to bring content out there to educate, actually, even though that I don't like the term education in that moment, because this is meant to be a podcast and it meant to be fun and less about education, but there will be educational part in there because there is so many people around which have a wrong understanding of what leather can do and what it is, and that our ancestors used it for many generations, and now we stop using it, or we start to stop using it, or put a question mark behind it where there was not a big question mark before. So it's great to have you here and to have this podcast being created now.
Thank you. And it has great implications of this misconception. As you said, because people have this wrong understanding of leather, they choose materials that are detrimental to the environment, to animals, in the contrary of what people think. And one of those things in the top of this list of misconceptions is animals are being killed for their leather. And when I heard in Milan, you shared this study, says half of the people believes this is the case. Uh, I was shocked. So we need to talk about this. Why people think that? Like, what are the numbers behind it?
Yeah, so it was very interesting. It's Leather UK, actually, which published in 2022 a survey that they had done where across the UK they had online asked 2,000 people with different gender, different age groups in regards to leather and alternative materials. And it was a multiple choice answering that you could do. And the first finding was interesting about that only 24% of the questioned people knew that leather is a byproduct from the dairy and the meat industry. So the majority did not even know where leather is coming from. And then 50% had an opinion. And the opinion was so drastic because 50% of the questioned people have the belief that we have two animals. One that we raise for the meat and the dairy, and the other one that we have just for the leather, and we kill it just for the leather. Where that is true for the fur industry, but it's not true for the leather industry. And that is really shocking to understand that so many people believe this. And I would really question, is that survey representing the Western world, where we are all in those urban environments and we have no touch to nature in that perspective anymore, and we are losing the sense of where is material coming from.
I think it's great insight. As you said, we don't see the farms, we don't see the animals. We go to the supermarket, we see the shelf of meat. We don't even know where the meat is coming from. Like, we don't think about it. Like, there's a length of separation from the material and the sources. Then when you buy a leather bag, you think, it's leather, but you don't go further than that. But it's very important to remember that people eat meat, like majority of the people eat meat. And when the animal, is sacrificing his life for continuation in human life, then there's a lot of leftover. There's bones, there's hides, which is trash if nobody touches it. Like it's a very big amount of trash that needs to be handled very carefully. But in fact, that's what leather industry has been doing for thousands of years, upcycling that material into a durable fabric to make goods of any kind with it. I think it, if people understand where the material is coming from, the choice is going to be different, because then this first misconception, animals are being killed for leather, leads to other misconceptions. Then, oh, vegan leather is better, which is a term in itself for worth of a full episode. I think we need to start talking. So, what do you think about that part of the equation, the vegan leather?
Yeah, that is a different topic, which we will and we must address in an own episode, I would say. But where I would like to step in again with the survey is that when after the finding of the people saying there are two animals, they educated in the survey, actually it's one animal. The world cannot afford to have two animals. There's not enough space, and it would be really not sustainable. We are all using this term sustainability. It would not be sustainable to have two animals, one that we eat or where we use the milk and dairy products from, and the other one that we just kill for the leather. This doesn't make sense. And so they educate in that survey, and they say, actually, it's only one. And what should we do with the animal once we kill it because we eat it? And it was interesting to see that 100% of the people agreed to the answer. Out of respect to the animal, we should use 100% of the animal. And that, I think, is really something which is in us humans, where we have this feeling if we kill a being and we eat it, out of respect, we should use everything. And you mentioned the bones and the blood and everything else that we have from those animals. And typically there are industries picking up on those and making products out of this. Now, why is it only leather that gets bashed in the society of being now a material of being disregarded? Because there are organizations and people saying, oh, you kill an animal for the leather. And I had an experience presenting in an automotive company during my life as a designer for automotive leather, where the person of the upper management said, so how many animals are we killing for our vehicles? And that was as well where I needed to educate and say, hey, do you really believe that there are two animals? We cannot afford this.
Absolutely. This is so important to understand that even people with vegan lifestyle, which I have huge respect for, agrees with we need to use the leather, we need to use the bones if there are so many people eating meat and we are killing these animals for this purpose. And yet this whole story is being twisted by alternative material suppliers and industries trying to show leather as an unsustainable, toxic, and cruel material, where it's absolutely the opposite of everything is being told. That's why I think this whole conversation, the concept of podcast came about. We just need to remind people where leather is coming from, what's the morals behind it, and once we understand it, even people don't eat meat agrees with we need to use leather so we don't have to create other toxic resources to make things out of.
Yeah, and to add to this, I think this is as well something where, as we live, most of the humans are living now in cities. We completely lost the sense, why do we even have animals on this planet? They do a purpose here. Yeah. So it's as well to look into not only they bring us nutrition, so vitamin B12 is very crucial for our own health system, and it's very easy to get it from red meat, for example. But then as well, by walking the grounds, they dump CO2 into the ground, and the soil needs CO2 so that plants can even grow. And what is currently happening is that in many areas of the world, we are losing soil, and we need the soil to grow even something, because in sand it's difficult to grow something, but on the soil it will grow. So we need those animals out there to fertilize the grounds, not only by walking the ground, but as well by leaving the dung behind. We now know that the dung is creating fertilization, and it's as well enhancing the quality of the soil. And we see that there is a bigger biodiversity. So there's a new term, regenerative farming, which is actually something that our ancestors did just by nature, because there was no artificial fertilizer out there. So slowly we start to remember things that our ancestors have done, where we as humans, in the industrialization of everything, and including the farming, we screw up. And now it's like a reverse, but in a good way, to remember what has been done in the past.
It's amazing that we think we're super smart and we figure out ways to be really efficient and profitable. I think as a natural result of capitalism and industrialism, then we're like, oh, we are screwing it up, and let's go back to the original way, which, nothing has to be done, just let it be, because Earth is the perfect system. It creates itself in a self-sustaining model. It's amazing. And there's the second aspect of it. Now, we know that animals are not killed for leather. We eat the meat out of respect. We want to use the leather. What is the second misconception about leather's journey into becoming a product? Like, what people believe that is not true in that journey of creation of leather?
Yeah, I think one of the big myths is as well that production of leather is extremely toxic. And we now know, yes, there is still chemicals, and chemicals are used in many, many aspects of our life, and we need them. And there are positive chemicals. So yes, there is a choice available. Do we want to go the toxic or the non-toxic way? And I'm in the industry now 25 years. I was laughing about your word. I'm a veteran in the industry, but I have 25 years of experience. And what I'm learning every day, because we are now questioning what are the colors that are toxic and what are the colors which are not toxic to leather. Because we have now a concept which allows leather to be composted at end of life. So we can close the circle to circular economy, and that's amazing. Leather could not do this. Leather was always biodegradable. But the products that we buy made out of leather, when they are biodegradable, they end in landfill or in an incineration plant. So we lose them forever, more or less. But when we bring them into compost or into fertilizer, then we close a circle. So the question is, to make this happen, what are the toxic and what are the non-toxic colors? So I was talking yesterday to a friend who is working for the pigment industry, and even they don't know. So it's interesting that this is a question that we as humans have not asked yet.
Right. It's a deep subject of, when we think about chemicals are being used in production of something, automatically some people can pull it to the toxicity and pollution side. But as you said, chemicals are essential part of life. Like, you go in the shower, you're using chemicals to clean yourself. So
It's in your
there's
toothpaste and washing powder, wherever
everything is
there's
chemical.
chemical.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the salt is chemical.
Yeah.
You put it in your food. So that's how leather has been developed over the thousands of years, that we get materials again from nature. Back in the day, they didn't know advanced chemistry, but they used even parts from animals itself or plants to tan the leather and turn it into a fabric. They can use it for clothing, shelters, or accessories. And today we have advanced techniques. We're very careful about what we're doing with our chemicals and then how we treat the water afterwards. We definitely came a long way, but again, are we there? We will never be there. There's always room for improvement. Just like you said, now you guys are working on completely biodegradable, compostable leather that even enriches the soil for growing plants afterwards, which is hard to grasp. I think industry is doing great job pushing itself to the next level since the beginning, but we never talked about it. I think that's why it's important for us to just get it out there so the leather enthusiasts know it and comfortably choose leather. What other conceptions in the production of leather might be in some people's mind? In the forums and Reddit, you go see a thread that talks, this type of leather is terrible and this is why. But most of them are actually, not complete information.
Yeah, there was a famous index for the fashion industry out, Hick Index. It's still there, and they had an incredible amount of water being used for the leather production. Now they corrected it as well. The entire number for the footprint for leather was reduced by 60% because they understood that the numbers were off. And it's interesting, or it's good that we learn as well from each other, and that we listen to each other. But that was as well feeding into leather is a bad material. Because yes, with a footprint, you don't want to use this material, and as well when you think, oh, we kill an animal for its leather, yeah, nobody wants to kill an animal just for the leather. Yeah, so it's great that that was corrected. So water was a huge amount of water being used to produce a square meter of heights. I don't remember the numbers, but it was really well. It was like, really? Just imagine this amount of water, and where should that come from? So it was completely off. So as well, human sense. I think we need to bring human sense back into the discussion and look into a little bit more in detail. What are we doing, and what are we doing right, and what are we doing wrong?
Absolutely. And if this was toxic, I always try to go back and think about this concept of sustainability. We're trying to project things like, if something is sustainable, which is trying to foresee, can we keep doing this for a significant amount of time going forward without breaking things? But we really don't need to look forward for leather, because leather has been there. You just step back 2,000 years. Pompeii in Italy is a great example. The oldest tannery setup from 2,000 years ago. People tanned leather in that city. And for how long, who knows, it was before that. Like, this is the known residue we can find today. But we look at the environment today, there is no one place that's rejecting leather or leather residues as a waste material that cannot be processed by earth. So it has been a sustainable material until today, which means it is going to be. But on the other hand, when we try to compare the alternatives now, plastics, we only use material for 200 years, and it's bursting out of everywhere. Earth is rejecting this. So there is definitely something wrong. Earth is signaling us here. I think there's a lot of very clear signals showing that leather is a material of choice, a conscious choice, earthy choice, but we just need to get the word out there.
Yeah, and I remember that you mentioned during dinner that thought, which really kept in my mind, where you said, there is no pile of waste of leather anywhere in the world. So nature is taking care of leather when it comes to an end of life. But we see fashion is leaving a huge amount of waste everywhere. All the technology is leaving huge amounts of waste in certain countries because we ship it there. And then as well, the plastic. I mean, we know that there is so much plastic in the ocean and in the water, and now we start to eat it ourselves, not knowing what it will do to us as humans and to the planet.
It's unbelievable. But that's fun to talk about. Hopefully it helps some of the leather enthusiasts or other public there who wants to do the right choice, because we feel in our gut that we are not heading the right direction with this overconsumption mindset. Everything is fast, cheap, quick, and lasting 30 days, a couple months. So you go for the next dopamine hit to purchase something new. That goes to another misconception that I've been hearing, like leather is not durable. Like, is that true? Or like, how long can you use when you choose something made with leather?
I'm very surprised when we made some research in preparation for this podcast, like what are the misconceptions or the myths about leather, that actually this is one of the misconceptions, because reality shows that leather is one of the most durable materials. So that is really something where I was surprised to find on social media and in research that people believe that leather is one of the less durable materials. It might have to do that people lost the sense of, how do I maintain my leather? what do I need to do so that it stays and remains beautiful for a long period of time? So what is interesting now to see that we have all those shoe repairs, just talking about shoes quickly, we have the shoe repair shop. So we can bring them there so that they get a new sole and they can be repolished. But we have now shoe brands offering that you can send your shoes back and they refresh them for you. So you get the same pair of shoes back after whenever you want to send it back and say, I want a refresh, and you get it back and it looks almost like new. So no new material is needed for this. It's just getting refreshed. And I think that is a right way to do, because as well in our education, we lose the how do you treat a shoe? How do you treat a jacket? How do you clean this? How do you maintain a leather bag or a sofa? And there is so much more to say, and we will do this probably during our run of podcast. But maintaining of how do I clean, how do I maintain it so that it has the advantage of, because leather shoes actually can last 20, 30 years. And then the feedback that we get from people running with alternative material shoes, a year, 2 years, if you're lucky, 3 to 5 years, and then you need to replace them because you can't repair them. And then the question is, can they be recycled? And what kind of waste or footprint do they leave at the end of their life? Are they ending up in another pile of plastic shoes, or
They have to. They have to, because they're not recyclable. Unfortunately, against the contrary comforting belief that, we throw things at recycle when it's plastic, and we did the right part. But the truth is, very little portion of that recycled plastic is actually getting recycled or reused. It ends up in the world as microplastics and coming into our bodies. Who knows what kind of health conditions it's going to cause going forward? That's another discussion. But as you said, leather can be maintained and used. Maybe that's a different understanding we came recently, that we like things in the pristine shape and very standard form now. We kind of forgot that things, the real good things, age into beautiful shapes and looks. And leather is one of them. Like humans, right? Like, you don't get old, you age into a wiser and better version of yourself. Good leather turns this way. But the man-made materials, you get it at its peak and then it just starts crumbling, going to end of its life, and it's irreparable. And leather is exactly the other way. Like, comes to your hands in an optimum form, but then it only gets better because the patina and the way you use it and take care of it, decades to come. I heard a story from a colleague in another exhibition last week. He said there was a handmade shoe shop in Germany, and they asked them, "What's the oldest shoe you have been repairing, maintaining?" And he said he had a customer, 80 years old now. He's been bringing his shoe for 60 years that he purchased from him and keep using it. Like, I was blown away with this fact. Like, it's not even possible with another material. Today, we don't keep things for 60 days, not 60 years. So this story in itself shows us this is the recipe we need to counteract the overconsumption and the disaster of pollution we're heading towards, I think.
Yeah, and I think it really makes me think. So when we look into shoes, the big trend worldwide are sneakers, and there is no concept yet how to repair sneakers and how to make them last long. I mean, it would be interesting to find a sneaker which is 60 years old, yeah, and which got repaired and repaired and repaired, or still being in use after 60 years, yeah. So it really, I think, it helps to make us think about the choices that we have. And yes, this gives the answer of, I would imagine this shoe that he is repairing since 60 years is a leather shoe.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Sole, everything. And that's the beauty of leather, right? You can use it for any purpose. It's so variable. You can use the leather in the sole. You can use the leather in the lining. You can use the leather in the outer. Even the strings could be fully leather made. And this material is available because of our meat consumption.
Yeah.
Why not we do everything with it?
Yeah, and that as we're coming quickly curve back to the survey from Leather UK, We were in an exhibition last year exhibiting about the compostable leather, and we had very many people coming to our exhibition being surprised to see real leather in the room. And they disclosed that they live a vegan lifestyle. And with this survey in mind, I was curious to ask them, so you as a vegan, would you, and you know that other people eat meat, would you support that out of respect to the animal, we use 100% of the animal, or would you say, no, keep the fingers away from leather? And it was really interesting to see that 100% of those people were saying, yes, please use it. So, and that is as well something we see now, that there are numbers out there, and I don't know if they are true or if they are reliable, but roughly 40% of the hides worldwide don't get used anymore because we replace them by alternatives. And the alternatives are most of the time plastic. So now we are just adding to the problem we call plastic, but they gave it this name vegan leather. And this is probably as well where we can build the bridge for our next episode.
Absolutely. This is a whole episode in itself. We are given a reason to feel good about choosing plastic in a very wrongful manner, but it's going to be a whole entire episode in the next one. So I can't wait to talk about it. But this one was great. That makes me relieved to get some of this information out there. People start hearing these facts and they make their own choice to, be a better person, make a better world, and hopefully we can help them do that choice in a significant way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.